guys, it's been a long time coming, but I'm proud to announce that my hands are finally registered with the International Registry of Lethal Hands. This is the only place where your God-given gifts of danger can get the recognition that they truly deserve. Now you might be thinking, why on earth would anybody need to register their hands as lethal? Let me break it down for you. There are those among us whose hands are so downright dangerous, they need to be documented. Registration is a moral responsibility, and it's a vote for the greater good of humanity. The sole mission of the International Registry for Lethal Hands is to catalog the most formidable hands on the planet. So if you know someone, and you even suspect they possess lethal hands, do not hesitate. Register them immediately. And if you've ever looked at your own hands and thought, damn, these dogs are dangerous, don't settle. Go register. Head over to registeryourhands.com, fill out a simple form, and you're official. Remember, use the promo code Chael to save 20%, or just click on the link below. I'm put in a very tricky position. George Masvidal, Nate Diaz. And, here, let me just explain. I would support in any way that I could Nate Diaz. I would be a rhetorant to success in any way that I could George Masvidal, right? Wouldn't matter what it was. I support Nate. Don't have to know anything else. Nate's there. I roll with him. George is there. I hope it falls on its face. Do you understand? Okay. Now, I just did Ariel Helwani's show. This just happened. This just ended. And Ariel reveals to me that Nate and George is moved to July. And he wants to know my opinion on it. Okay. Now, what I haven't shared for you guys is if something had ever happened to Nate, I would have filled in and I would have been taking on George. Okay, great. That has nothing to do with anything. But set that aside because at a minimum, I would know the date. At a very minimum, I would know the date, and I didn't. And I bring this to you because I was the first to come to you and say, guys, let's rethink this. I was the first to do it. Now, rumored was that this boxing match was going to go down in Las Vegas in March. And when the press release came out and I got asked to weigh in, I said, guys, I don't believe this to be true. And the reason is, it's January. There's a press release that's coming out in March. That would come out with an on sale. Nobody would make that announcement without having a press conference and letting you know where you could buy tickets. It just wouldn't happen that way. And so I even asked those guys, I said, hey, who's promoting this? No answer. But they kept running with it. It was headlines everywhere. I said, well, who's distributing it? Which means if I don't want to go live, but I like to sit at home and enjoy it and take this in or have a show or maybe a party and some friends over, a circuit on my calendar, what channel would I turn on? They didn't have an answer to that, but they kept running with the idea that these two were going to box, and I said, they're not. There is no promoter out there who could scramble from now to March anything. Last day of March, first day of March. You can't scramble from now to March and not have a distribution, not have an on sale date. Oh, by the way, take these 2 stars and go into Las Vegas. Whatever approval you think you got over a phone to come into the boss's city, you don't have it. No matter what you were told or what relationship you think you have, you are not rolling into Vegas and being welcomed. I'm letting you know that right now. And I let you know this way back in January. And sure enough, I was right. And it wasn't happening. And there was no on sale. And there was no venue. And they weren't going to Vegas at all. All right, great. So it's going to be June 1st. So, in part, little old Chael, no, I'm not out training. I'm not out getting ready for this. Anybody can go and prepare for a fight. A real man just shows up. But I don't get told. And it's now going to be the 16th, and it puts me in this really weird spot. On one hand, I want to really get behind it, right? And on the other hand, I'm put in a difficult position because we're told that the fighters themselves are the promoters. Which means when George says he's gonna write Chael a check, he's actually being serious, which means I got to count on Masvidal's check, right? That's a bet I'm not willing to take. So Nate was publicly offered $15 million to do MMA. And in the history of our sport, there has never been a public offering. And in the history of our sport, nobody's made $15 million in one night. So it was an amazing thing. I remember when Don Davis did it, went on Ariel show, he flew out to do it in person. It was awesome. It was this awesome announcement. But the fact that Nate signed with George tells us that he's going to turn down the $15 million offer to take on Jake Paul. And even though it'd be MMA, it was a guy that he just got done fighting, right? I mean, there's a little bit of fear in fighting. That's called the mask. But when the mask comes off, there's now no more fear. Like, you might be scared of a guy, and you'll get ready and prepare. There's a whole bunch of words. But fearful is not one of them in your rematch. You might have an anxiety, but if you used to train with a guy, you don't have fear. It's a different thing. It's a mistake that it's a mistake that Jose Aldo's opponent just made, quite frankly. He physically grabbed him at the press conference. That was right there in that moment. In that brief second, it was right in that moment when Jose lost his fear. He felt his strength, he felt his power, and you now are no longer a stranger to me. And I'm only sharing with you. It's a very interesting thing for Ariel to tell me, the guy ready to go in against George, the date of June 1st, and I'm planning to be in California. I don't need to be there. And it doesn't help but to worry me if the athletes are putting their own money in. It bothered me in January when I heard that this was going to be in Vegas in March, and I told you no, it wasn't. And it bothers me to hear today, on a date of a fight that I, in theory, need to be ready for, has been moved, and I heard about it from Ariel. That's concerning to me. And I follow a lot of politics. I told you guys that. I haven't watched football games and baseball games and basketball games. I follow politics. I've seen many a good candidate suspend their campaign, and there is no such thing. The day you suspend your campaign, you have ended your campaign, whether you're aware of it or not.